a little dumb in your head. She's a bobblehead. She's a. Hey, E-boy Cognac. Cognac. All right, guys. What's up, guys? Welcome to the room. Welcome to the room. You are tuned to the baddest relationship talk show in the land.
Come on in the room.
You so silly. But yes, you guys tuned to the baddest relationship talk show in the land. I am your boy Cognac. This your girl Lipstick. We talk about all things relationships, no matter if you a a ruler, rainbow, or unicorn. So let's take on and start it off. I try to take your spot. I say I shouldn't have done that.
Oh, that's why God made the woman.
I see, because I really effed up your whole
yes.
spot.
It's your girl Lipstick and my boy Cognac, and we are Lipstick and Cognac, your relationship host with the most. No, I'm just messing.
You so silly.
We are your host of adult conversation with an alternative twist. A no judgment zone where we discuss all things relationship, no matter if you are a ruler, a rainbow, or a unicorn. Yes.
Yay. So, Lipstick, how was your week, boo?
My week? I said I was going to remember what my week was. And this week I do remember because I was super busy. I went to Trap and Paint.
We had a
Friday.
You was out in the house. Your husband gave you a free pass, I see.
Yeah, he was at the lake. So when the dogs away, the cats will play.
I see that. So how was Trap and Paint?
Trap and Paint was awesome. They went it was a lot of birthdays, a lot of dirty 30 birthdays.
Okay.
So a lot of people were there celebrating, a lot of women. It was all women and maybe it was maybe like 50 women and 2 men.
Yeah.
And they were there on dates.
Okay.
So it was nice. It was at a sports bar.
Mm-hmm.
For the first time in my life, I had a Hennessy margarita. I had to.
And she was still messed up for Wings Fest.
I was hungover.
You couldn't even drink.
I'm not a drinker.
How you get
I'm not a drinker. I'm not a drinker.
That doesn't make any sense.
I drink water.
But you bobblehead though, right?
No, that was your words, not mine. But it was nice. We got the twerk. They did it for the 99-2000. You know.
You backed that ass up.
I did on the chair, and it wasn't on camera. No. And then Saturday we went to the Slinging Wings Festival.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was nice. They had very nice wings. They was what's the right? They were Caucasian wings. They was nice, but they were Caucasians.
Yeah, and what's so fun? They had all the melon people towards the back. You really had to walk in and like they had to go walk all the way. I'm like, golly, where the black people at? Because I was like, I don't see anybody.
Well, it was
black.
In Sandy Springs.
It was,
for one, but it was nice. It was really, really nicely put on. Like you had no problems waiting in lines. Like the lines wasn't stupid long.
Except for the liquor.
But
the liquor line,
the alcohol line.
You would have thought we was going to.
Well, your line was long.
Moses, like Jesus, 40 years in an acre.
His line was long because your girl found the short line. I've gotten my drink. I bought a popsicle and everything before you even came back.
Listen, like this. Yes, getting back.
Exactly. Oh, you finally made it. We were sitting down and everything, enjoying the music. But shout out to them. It was a really, really nice festival. It was a lot of wings, a lot of food. It was very affordable, and it was also family friendly. Like if
it
you
really
had
was,
kids,
and the band was amazing. Now the band,
yes.
I don't know who them guys was, but yeah, y'all were good. They did it.
Mm-hmm. They was singing what? Prince,
Genuine.
He sung Pony.
I was like, okay.
But yeah, so that was part of my weekend. Well, all my weekend. What about yours?
Well, my babe was out of town. His aunt passed, so he had to go to La Paz.
I'm gonna save my
Louisiana. Yeah, it was sad. So he went down there, and I wasn't able to go this time because back from my dad, and I had to work. But other than that, I just chilled out. Got a lot of meetings with what we had going on. So.
But you went to the movies.
I did, and I saw Dawn of Dead.
You didn't see
Pet
Cemetery?
Not Dawn of Dead. What I'm talking about, Pet Cemetery. And truthfully, when we be real about it,
yeah,
I give it a 3.
Oh man,
it was.
Why?
I was so disappointed.
Was it not scary?
It was. It had a little jump out moments, but the fact that when you look at the old Pet Cemetery and look at this one, they really effed it up. They really, really effed it up. So I don't know what happened. Like that was crazy.
Okay. Well, moving along. Next topic. I don't want to ruin it for people.
I know. But class is now in session. What's up, guys? What's up, guys? The bell has rung. If this is your first time watching Lift the Cognac Show, please drop a black heart. If you are returning to Lift the Cognac Show, drop a red heart. And also comment where you watching us from. Comment where you live, what city represents your state, Canada, China, wherever. We are here for you. And now we're going to jump into what's going on in the news.
All right. Tell us what's in the news.
You know what lady back at home, you say Mississippi Coastal News.
How she said?
She was like, Mississippi Coastal News. It was funny. But, yeah, you just had to be there.
I'm going to let that
You really had to be there. But I want to touch on Kodak Black. He has been very problematic in today's industry and what's going on, and I don't get it. Why he just want to pick on? He picked on Young M.A. He picked on all for one. To be honest, I know if the gay people don't want you, so we don't even want you over here in our lane. And if so
he hasn't said anything about gay people, has he?
I'm just being honest. He ain't cute for nobody. That's what I'm saying. You are not cute. You like a damn roach. And I'm being honest. Like he is. Like, you are so rude to people and you just say what's come on your mind. You can't expect, this is why I always tell people, you can't expect to say something, don't get nothing in return. And what you put in the absence is going to return back to you. Because what you said about Lauren, and she's going through with her belated baby, the father dying or whatever, like, that was rude. That coming was uncalled for.
I think, I don't think he meant it in a negative way.
Look at you.
However,
you about to get canceled.
No, I'm not about to get canceled.
These are listic words.
I don't think he meant it in a negative way, but it was very rude and it was out of place what he said, because you got to think of his mindset. Like, his mindset is just not, he don't think the same. And
he's weird.
He is a product of his environment.
But he has some cool music, so I'm not going to say he's not talented.
But it don't matter about being talented. We've already talked about R. Kelly is talented.
Oops, yeah. Right.
James Brown was talented. Like, we have a lot of talented people that had issues. So
I would put him on the same level as James Brown.
I didn't say that. I'm just naming talented people that had issues. That's it. And I think I'm putting them on the same level.
Yeah, they're not on
the
same level.
But what I'm trying to say with him is he's a product of his environment. And even though he's talented and he's put on a platform, he does not have the mental capacity or
who
the
is his
thought
PR?
Process.
Whoever his PR is, they suck.
Clearly, but the thing is, your PR can only do so much because he's going live on his own.
But the thing is, they should tell you, like, when he done the first time, this ain't his first offense.
What they gonna do? Take his phone?
Just like, dude, you a whole brain. You gotta know what you're doing.
You asking way too much from somebody who does not think on the same level that you're thinking.
You know what? We never know. But anyway, ain't on a better news.
Ain't know that's clearly that's the case.
On to better news. Going on with the Housewife reunion of Atlanta. I was watching it, and I love Nene. So I want to put that out there right now. Nene, I love you. I love Phaedra. I love Candy, and I love Sheree. Those are my favorite people out of the Housewives.
When has She by Sheree came out?
I don't know.
That's somewhat spring, fall, and past.
But I really like them, and I love Kim at times. Kim was funny. Like, I like Kim. But Nene, coming from personal experience, what I know how it is to take care of a person who is sick and elderly and they're going bad, and I can just only imagine what you're going through. But I feel like you asking for people to be there and they are there for you, but you don't know how to deal with it. It's okay to ask for help, and I feel like she's afraid to ask for help. You get what I'm saying? Because, like, she been crying out this whole season, and I really felt for her. But when you make everything about you, everything's not about you. You get what I'm saying? Like, with Eva's wedding, Eva's thing, if you were not in a space to go and be happy for somebody and you want your own thing, that's fine. Just say, hey, I need to sit this out because I have my own mental issues going on right now at home. I do agree with that because, like, you're coming off as a bad apple. You're not a bad person, and I don't think Nene is a bad person.
No, I don't think she's a bad person.
Yeah, but when you going through stuff, it's not. I don't think it's a good idea to be around other people just trying to have fun.
I think that as it pertains to the wedding, she did the right thing by going and by leaving. When she did, because of what the stuff that was at home. When you go through stuff like that is very traumatic. And I've been there, like, from when my father passed, not on the caretaker as the wife or the spouse, but it takes something out of you. And she's not in a space where she is thinking like a normal person. Again, this is like people that's not thinking right. Her situation is not the same as Kodak Black because she clearly got way more sense. But she's going through something. It's like she is being in a very, very
vulnerable place.
Yes. And so everything is going to trigger it for her. And I feel like she just feel like her friends are not there. Like you said, I'm agreeing with you. The communication between them is not up to par.
It's not.
She's not communicating well enough for them to understand what she needs. Because they could say they've been there all they want to, but they're not there in the way that she needs them, then you're not there for me.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I agree.
If I need $5 and you telling me, oh, you need to sell your shoes, that ain't what I need. I need $5. I don't need to sell my shoes.
Exactly. I ask for money.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I get it.
And I just feel like this whole 2-3 years from now, she'll be in a different space and she'll look at this in a totally different way. But when you feel like you have been done wrong when you're going through stuff, it's hard for you to look past that.
It is, and I'm not going to knock that because it's
and you gotta
really
think these
sad.
are contracts. You can't just walk away when you getting paid money and you gonna lose money by saying you're not gonna do it. Because you remember she was supposed to be the one. She agreed to do the toast and everything at the girl wedding, Eva.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I'm just showing up for your wedding. Like I'm showing up for your wedding and I'm the one doing the toast. I have a role in your wedding.
Yeah. Well, all my prayers go out to Nene because I understand my mom had cancer.
Yeah.
And she beat it, thank God. But going towards my dad having a stroke, so I get it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's really sad. But on to our topic for today. Let's see, what is our topic?
Okay, so let me read y'all the formal. Today's topic is going to be a really, 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 really serious one. Today we do have two special guests. How to mend your relationship with your child post-child molestation. So today we're going to talk about everything as it pertains to child molestation, everything around it, the signs, and while someone is either going through it, and then once it's happened, unfortunately, how to get past it, how to deal with it as the adult. You know, everything is on the table right now. And our two guests, they are very versed in this.
I'm gonna let them tell their own story.
Yeah, that's why I'm just
like
trying to be
people's
vague.
Story.
I'm being vague on purpose.
Yeah, but honestly, I want to say this. It's coming from because we made that little poll on our IG talking about our show on Monday. People really enjoyed it, and like it was like.
Well, tell the people what the poll was.
Well, the poll was basically if you find out that a family member or friend was touching your child, would you call the police or would you handle it yourself? And some people didn't vote. Some people sent a lot of DMs to us. It was like, you know, like it depends on who the person was to them. Mm-hmm. To be honest, I think I would do both. I would probably want to kill you, and like I would probably hurt you very badly.
What if it's another child?
That's so deep, especially when it's a sibling. Like, what do you do in that type of situation? It's easier when it's a grown person.
Yeah, it's easier for you to pass your judgment and say what you're gonna do when it's an adult.
But when you're like, say like.
It's a 6-year-old and maybe a 15 or not even that old, 15. Maybe like a 10-year-old.
Yeah, like what do you do? What do you tell your child? How do you handle that type of situation?
Because right now it's really two victims because that 10-year-old is not just doing that.
Because somebody had to touch that.
Usually,
baby.
I'm thinking that's where that.
You know,
or
they watch it like and I say this enough for people. Like we need counseling in our black community. Mm-hmm. We don't believe in it. Everybody feels like. You go to the church, and I love the church. I love the Lord, but you keep it in the house. Like you don't tell what's going on in our household. You keep this in our household, and people are really mentally effed up from that. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Some people can't get married. Some people don't want you around their daughters or child. Like it's a lot of things that go on that we don't know the answers to, but it's help out there for you.
And you know, we had a conversation before when this was behind the scenes, so you guys weren't privy to it, and I made the statement that I think that this happens more in the homosexual community than the heterosexual community. And you was like, no, it's not a homosexual thing. And I thought about it because I didn't mean the statement to come out like that. But a lot of people do think like that.
Well, that's so weird. Why do people think like that?
Because you just hear a lot of people, straight people, they hear about people turning gay because they were touched.
And
but I'm trying to hold on before you go there.
Hold on. But I want to say this. There's a lot of little girls and men who get touched by the opposite sex who are like sex demons.
True, but what I'm going to say is I don't even think, even though I did not mean that statement like that, I want to squash that belief because I don't believe that. Like I believe that just because you're touched or whatever by an adult or anybody, the way you internalize it is the way that you, I guess, act out. You get what I'm saying? Like you said, some girls, they internalize it and it makes them more promiscuous. Some girls, they internalize it and they don't want nobody touching them, and they become the Virgin Mary almost complex. You know what I'm saying? And some people, some guys, some girls, they end up liking, if it's from the same sex, they like the same sex. And then some of them become homophobic of the same sex. You get what I'm saying? So it's just the way that person internalized. So I want to clear that up with you, because I don't want you thinking that that's where my mindset was with it. I think that it all depends.
But and I feel like that was a teaching moment for you, because a lot of people think like that, and I'm not. And that's why we had a platform to talk about it from a homosexual and heterosexual perspective, because like we're trying to break these stigmatisms, we're trying to break down these things where people feel like this is a gay thing, this is a straight thing. No, this is a universal thing. Correct. You get what I'm saying? Like, being touched is touch. Yep. Whether it's by male, female, whatever. Like, you be like that. That's still same hurt, and you both need help the same way. Yeah. No matter who touched you. You get what I'm saying? To be honest,
there's no difference than an adult being. Rape is rape. Whether it's child molestation, it's still rape. It's a form of rape. And if it was two adults and one adult took advantage of the other, you don't care if it's male or female. Like, you're going to say it's rape.
It's rape, exactly.
And however that person internalizes it is how they're dealing with it.
Yeah, and I want to piggyback what you said. What would you do if that was your instance? If it was a child, it was your child touching your child.
A child? I don't know. Like, that's the reason why I asked you, because I really don't know. Because when it's two children, because you don't, it depends. Like, if it's a big age gap where you know that child, no. But if it's like a 5 and a 10-year-old, sometimes they just may be exploring their sexuality. Like,
somebody said it, they reply back, they say they might just be touching and don't think like they're just exploring. But at the same time, like, do you reprimand that child?
Yes, you do.
Get that child help?
You do reprimand that child, because you have to direct it. That's just like when you have little kids and they are like touching on it, like little babies, they touch themselves. And you don't want to be like, no, don't do that, because you don't want to give them a concept, but you have to let them know that that's an inappropriate way to touch yourself in front of people. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So you have to reprimand them, and you have to direct it.
He was bad, boy. I'd be like, what you doing? Like,
yes, and that's what kids do.
I just all in his little pamper.
That's what kids do. So you have to redirect.
You know what I'm saying? So I get it. I get what you're saying.
But I don't like, if it was some kid that was a little older, I don't know. Like, I really don't know the best way to handle it, and I'm hoping that we get answers to that today.
I do, because this is what I guess specialize in. And I'm really excited about having them on, because, like, for me, I might lose it and might just beat the hell out of my child. And I don't know if I will report them to the police, because that's my child.
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying? But now if it's a grown up, you dead. You dead on sight.
Well, like, you didn't ask me about the adults.
Yeah, so
we're gonna wrap this up.
Yeah.
Stay tuned, guys. I ain't gonna take your stuff.
It's fine. Hey, guys, we'll take a recess break. Stay tuned to Ronout.com. So there's Cognac, or if you watch it on Ronout Facebook page, we'll come next to our guest, Al.
With customizable streaming TV from Xfinity, watch the most free TV shows, hit movies, and live sports on the go. At home, access Netflix, YouTube, and Pandora right from your TV. And with the X1 voice remote, just say it and see it.
Show me HBCU.
With Black Film and TV, watch your favorite college entertainment, HBCU football games, and much more. Xfinity. Simple, easy, awesome.
And we are Lipstick and Cognac, your dynamic relationship duo, where we talk all things relationship every Tuesday
from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time
on rollingout.com and Rolling Out Live via Facebook. Y'all, what we talking about, Cognac?
We talk about it all. We talk about the cheating, the people that do right, don't do right, the people that might want to slap your head on your mama, your daddy, your sister, your uncle.
I don't know about slapping my mama, but we gonna talk about it all, y'all. Make sure you check us out every Tuesday. It's gonna be lit.
It's gonna be a fun time. Ow.
Hey, we're back. You're watching Lipstick and Cognac, your host of adult conversation with an alternative twist. A no judgment zone where we discuss all things relationship, no matter if you are a ruler,
a rainbow, or a unicorn.
And as you can see, we have special guests today. We were just talking about them. They are the founders.
How can they follow us?
Make sure you guys follow us, Lipstick and Cognac, on Instagram and Facebook, Lipstick and Cognac. YouTube, Lipstick and Cognac page, as well as Twitter, Lipstick_Cognac. Okay, enough for our shameless plug. Yes. I was trying to get to them. Like, you got two guests up here. Okay, so we have the founders of Comfort in the Storm. I'm going to read their official bio.
Okay.
Child advocates, speakers, and writers. Richard and Kathy Butler are child advocates and the founders of Comfort in the Storm, LLC. An organization created to provide education and awareness about child sexual abuse and prevention. Together, they are on a mission to end child sex abuse. One speaking engagement, one social media post, one organization, and one family at a time. Thank you guys for being here. Okay, speak directly into the mic.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. Okay, so explain what you guys are. I know this is the official bio, but we like to hear it in your own words.
Your own words.
Who you are, what do you do, why are you doing it?
Well, our daughter disclosed to us that she was sexually abused by a family member on April 1st, 2008. It is a date that I will never forget. And in that moment, it was shocking. It was devastating. There were so many emotions, but first and foremost was our concern for her.
Yes.
So after we started the process of making sure that she got the help that she needed, and we began the journey of healing as a family, it really became pressed upon our hearts that we needed to help other people so that their children did not become victims of the same circumstance. And it wasn't a difficult choice for us to make in the sense that we were never ashamed that it happened to our child. There was a level of guilt that we felt as parents that our child, experienced that. And there were red flags that we obviously missed, and because we didn't know what to look for. And so in the process of really journeying to healing, we decided, okay, we need to figure out how we can educate other parents and other families and just the public at large to make sure that their children are protected and they don't miss the flags that we missed.
Yeah, because, and this is no judgment zone, okay? But I know you guys hear this a lot. Like when you hear about somebody's child being molested, especially when let's take R. Kelly. And everybody's like, well, it's the parents' fault. The fault always goes back to the parents. But a lot of the time, you can't fault them because sometimes they really do not know. Even if the flags are there, it's just like a boyfriend that is cheating on you. Unless you know what to look for, you just don't know. So was that something that you had to get over, especially as a guy?
Yeah, I want to ask you, how was it for the father?
Absolutely, it was difficult because initially I felt not just so sad for my daughter that she had to go through that, but I felt like I failed her as a father. And being in the Army, I really felt like with all my training, I didn't catch the signs. I didn't protect you the way I should have and the way you expected me to. Yeah. It was very difficult to get over. Even to this day, I'm sure I compensate in some ways, trying to protect my daughters.
So how old was she at the time?
The abuse started when she was 11, and it continued through the age of 14. She was actually abused by her cousin, an older cousin, and it actually happened at her grandmother's house. So, she would go to her grandmother's house every day after school, and we thought, okay, we were doing something right because our children never went to daycare.
They were
always in the care.
I would want my child at daycare, so I get what you're saying.
Right. And so in terms of trying to be good parents, we thought, our kids are completely safe because they're at grandma's house. So it never crossed our mind that this would actually occur to our child. And so the abuse was taking place at grandma's house.
No, was this cousin
so
an
was
adult?
Grandma home, or was she going? Was he working?
The actual instances of abuse typically occurred when grandma went to the store.
Okay.
So, there were several children in the home because, we have 2 children, and then they also had some cousins, and so they were all kind of around the same age. And so the older cousins would be tasked with just keep an eye on them. Let me run down to the store. The store was literally 10 minutes away, but a lot can happen,
in 10 minutes.
Exactly. And so that was where and how it was occurring with her.
Got it.
So
And
this
this
was
cousin
like a
was
niece or nephew, or
It was my
nephew, and he was about 15 or 16 when he started, and he was 19 by the time 2014 came around.
Oh goodness! So I guess my question would be, and let me know when I go too deep, because
he would get all your
There is no too deep. Go ahead. There is no too deep.
That's cause that's your
what's
brother.
the zodiac sign?
So how is the relationship right now with your brother and his nephew?
The situation with my brother, we're good because he immediately, when I reached out to him that night and told him what happened, he had him arrested. He went through the court process. He supported my daughter every step of the way. So my brother and I are good. My brother's wife, however, supported the son. So we're estranged, and I have no relationship with the young man at all, the nephew.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't ask for anything more from my brother-in-law because, he stepped up immediately, and he's been in my daughter's life since the day she was born. So he sees her as, his own child. So he responded in a way that he would respond if it was his own biological child. So I have no complaints with him because he immediately said, I will find him and we will get this taken care of.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's for like you have other children. They have other children around the same age. Like, how was that with the kids that wasn't affected talking towards each other?
They really don't have a lot of interaction. I think anytime you have abuse that is occurring in a family, once it's exposed, people tend to have to take sides. I mean, it shouldn't have to be that way, but
family
typically,
dynamic.
people do take sides, and so the family dynamic does change a bit. And so as a result, there isn't a whole lot of interaction between all of the kids anymore. But for the ones that stay in communication, that's great. And for the ones who don't, it is what it is.
Where were the other kids when this was going on, or was it more than just your daughter?
At this time, we have only been advised that it was our daughter. We have questioned all of the children, but they would be somewhere in the house. So
my daughter, she's our oldest. Our younger daughter, my oldest, said she would comply to protect her younger sister and her younger cousin, which was his younger sister. So she said she would endure just so the other two, he wouldn't go toward them, but they were, a little younger.
Let me ask you this, because for what I know, what I read, it's always a repeated cycle. So have you asked, like, who touched him? Do y'all know
was
who,
he?
Or was he?
Sadly, we don't know.
We don't know.
And we have no information that would suggest that he was a victim of abuse.
You probably didn't care at the time.
And really, for us, it didn't matter because he did what he did, and he needed to be held accountable for that. But we've never been given any information to suggest that he was a victim of any kind of abuse.
Okay.
So let me ask you this then, because both of you guys keep saying the signs. What were some of the signs that you guys missed?
I wanted to ask you,
The first sign that sticks out is the fact that it got to a point to where my daughter didn't want to go to her grandmother's house anymore, which was in her entire life was a place that she longed to be at. She would rather be at grandma's house than to be at home. And so as she got older and all of a sudden she was like, well, I don't want to go to grandma's house. Can I just go home? I'm thinking she's just being, a hormonal preteen. And then all of a sudden it got to the point to where she didn't like to be touched. And, you might reach out to give her a hug and she would jump back. We really didn't think that it meant anything, other than, oh, okay, she doesn't want to be touched today. Then all of a sudden we started seeing, mood changes and behavior changes and changes in grades. And then all of a sudden it was the layering of clothes.
Hey guys, we're going to take a recess break. Stay tuned to Runner.com. So Cognac or on Runner Facebook page will come up next.
With customizable streaming TV from Xfinity, watch the most free TV shows, hit movies, and live sports on the go. At home, access Netflix, YouTube, and Pandora right from your TV. And with the X1 voice remote, just say it and see it.
Show me HBCU.
With Black Film and TV, watch your favorite college entertainment, HBCU football games, and much more. Xfinity. Simple, easy, awesome.
30 million people have been diagnosed with diabetes and 75 million with high blood pressure. Let's talk about the importance of cleaning the blood. 50 years of scientific research have shown.
Hey guys, you're watching Lipstick and Cognac, your host of Adult Conversation with an Alternative Twist, a no judgment zone where we discuss all things relationship, no matter if you are a ruler,
a rainbow,
or a unicorn. Make sure you guys follow Lipstick and Cognac on Instagram and Facebook at Lipstick and Cognac, YouTube, Lipstick and Cognac page, as well as Twitter, Lipstick_Cognac.
And Team No Pollen. Okay.
Oh, my goodness. So today we are sitting here with the founders of Comfort in the Storm. And we were just talking about some of the signs that you need to look for, or some of the signs that they missed in their daughter that are like red flags now.
Right.
Yes. And she would just get right back into it.
So one of the other signs that we missed was the layering of clothes. And it probably would not have seemed like a lot to some people. Mm-hmm. But when all of a sudden, you know, a preteen is now wearing, you know, a shirt, another shirt, a jacket, a sweater, and it's 80 degrees outside, you know, why do you need to be layered like that? And so it was really a way of her trying to protect herself. It became her armor. But we didn't think anything about it because, you know, you would say, well, why are you wearing that? Because I want to. Okay, you know,
thought she was
but
a
it's
typical
hot
teenager
outside.
with
Like,
little blue swings and things like that.
Exactly.
So I get what you're saying.
Exactly. So because we didn't know that those could be potential signs that something was going on, we attributed most of it to just being, you know, a hormonal preteen. Mm-hmm. And we dealt with it like she was a hormonal preteen.
Got it. Were there any other signs or signs that you may have seen that she...
Yes. Our daughter was a straight-A student, and she was very passive initially. She played basketball. She was on a travel team, but she was still very passive. But her attitude started to change. Her grades started to plummet. And, you know, again, we started working with her on that, and we just thought she was having problems at school. She didn't get along well with other kids. We really didn't know what to attribute it to. Mm-hmm. And then one day on a basketball court, a boy touched her. He just fouled her, a regular foul, but she literally body slammed him mid-game, and the referee signed her with a technical. And so we talked to her about it, but it was so out of character.
She was tired. She was fed up.
And I don't know if it was a trigger or what. Even to this day, she doesn't say, but
I think it was a trigger because she has mentioned that some of the abuse would occur while they were playing basketball, because that was kind of that's how he groomed her.
For the touching.
Mm-hmm, because you would go outside in front of grandma's house. You know, there was a basketball court out there.
And she was just fed up at that moment.
Right. And so he would, you know, initially it would start, you know, with some contact and, oh, I didn't mean to touch you like that. But eventually, you know, it just became more and more and more blatant.
So it's almost like when you're in school and the guys that like you, they touch on you and then you, okay, I got it.
I mean,
exactly.
and
I've been in that. I've never been molested, but I've been in that situation where you may have to rough up a guy because he's inappropriately touching you, and he's trying to be funny about it. But you're like, no, I don't like it. That's a no touch.
Right. And I mean, the different grooming patterns are going to vary depending upon the age of the child and also the level of interaction that they're having with the abuser. So when you're talking about an adult abuser and a child, that's going to look a little different than when you're talking about a juvenile offender and a younger child, because how they're interacting is very different on a day-to-day basis as well. So when you're looking at an adult abuser, they're looking at things like bribery. They're, you know, give me $1. I'll give you $1 if you give me a kiss. They're inserting themselves into your life as, you know, a parental figure or role model. Yeah. You know, they're very, very well respected in the community. So if they tell you to do something, then you do it. One of the other things that we notice, even in, you know, the Black community, we have this thing where if an adult tells you to do something, you do it.
Yeah.
And we don't set limits with that. And we need to, because a lot of times these abusers are taking advantage of your children just based on the fact that your mama told you to do what I told you to do. Or you better do what I said or else I'm going to tell your mother. And the child doesn't understand that this is an act of manipulation on the abuser's part, but this is how they're indoctrinating the children to be compliant and not to tell. And so we go through a whole list of grooming patterns that you should be looking out for.
Well, shout out to my mama, because my mama raised me from a young girl. Like, if they tell you to do something that you know is wrong, I don't care who it is. It can be your grandmama. Don't do it, and then come tell me. But like you said, my mom was not the typical you gonna do what they say, don't embarrass me type of mother.
Right.
Like my mom, she encouraged us to, I'm not gonna say talk back, but to take up for ourselves. Like if I'm at your house and you're telling me to do something I know is wrong, I can say, no, I'm not doing that because that's wrong. And my mom, like, she encouraged that.
Right.
As you can see now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is conversations that need to happen because that is not typical.
And that is so true. I like how you broke that down. It comes from a father's son's part. Do you have to get any type of, like, therapy?
My daughter did go to therapy. We went to family therapy.
Yes.
That is critical and crucial. So while we called the police, and we would certainly, advocate for people contacting the police in these situations, we of course understand that every family, has to make that decision on their own. But whatever you choose to do, please make sure that your child gets counseling, because the wounds that, the type of trauma that they've experienced, it's deep. And, that can only really be addressed with a good professional, and it's going to take time.
Okay.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. It's time. It doesn't resolve in a matter of weeks, months, or in cases years.
Yeah.
Well into adulthood, often survivors have difficulties assimilating, difficulties in relationship, difficulties breaking down those barriers. So again, you may have therapy for a short period of time, and you may need it again 5, 10, 15 years later. Because now your dynamic and your life structure is different. You may have troubles dealing with your own kids. A lot of survivors struggle with letting their kids do things with other kids, going over to other people's houses, taking field trips at school.
Imagine.
You know, so you may need assistance on how to navigate that phase of your life.
And we saw that play out on, I think it was Love and Hip Hop New York, where Joe Budden and his what's her name? And his girlfriend, they had the baby. They just had a baby, and they were saying that she needed a nanny to help her. And she was molested by her child care provider when she was a little kid. Like, she was like 5 or something. And she was like, she has a hard time. And it was a woman. So she was like, I have a hard time leaving my baby with someone because in my mind,
People
I know what happened to me.
Crazy
and that would
days.
be a very natural response for someone who has experienced that.
Yeah.
And again, there would be probably some additional counseling needed to help her work through some of those emotions. And it could just be that she may never feel comfortable having her child in the care of someone like that. And that would have to be perfectly okay as well.
But can I say this? That should be a natural reaction for all parents.
Correct.
That's part of the issue. We blindly give access to our children to so many people in our lives. We should vet them a lot better than we do.
Thoroughly.
I guess for me, what I would say this, because it's 6 of us.
Okay.
And, and for what I know, nobody's been molested or anything like that. So it will really break my heart to know that my brother's child or sister's child touching my child. You know what I'm saying? Like I could like, because I know we weren't raised like that. So like, I wouldn't know how to handle that, especially when say like a child's like 6 and 9. What do you do in that situation?
Well, let me just read these statistics off, and you can see if these marry up what you guys have seen. They say 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 20 boys are the victim of child sexual abuse. Self-reported studies show that 20% of adult females and 5 to 10% of adult males recall a childhood sexual assault or sexual abuse incident. During a 1-year period in the U.S., 16% of youth ages 14 to 16 had been sexually victimized. And over the course of their lifetime, 28% of U.S. youth ages 14 to 17 had been sexually victimized. Children are the most vulnerable to child sex abuse between the ages of 7 and 13, which is the exact frame of what happened with your daughter. Yeah. Are those statistics pretty accurate?
I think depending upon where you're getting your information, the statistics can vary a little bit.
Yeah.
I have seen just as recently 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused by the time they're 18. I think last week I saw something that said 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 4 boys. But I think beyond just the statistic is the deeper understanding that it is such a pervasive issue in our society. And regardless of whether you say 1 in 5, 1 in 6, 1 in 10, 1 is too many.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so we have to start taking action to make sure that there is not 1, because we don't get any brownie points as a society to say, oh, well, it went from 1 in 6 to 1 in 3, because again, 1 is too many.
Much. Do you think it's exacerbated in the Black and brown communities because we kind of like to push stuff under the rug and you keep it in our house even if we handle it?
Yes. I mean, I was thinking about that a moment ago. The saying, what happens in our house stays in our house.
Exactly.
You know, we have a list that we put together of house rules that are actually detrimental to the children, you know, and that is one of them. What happens in this house stays in this house. Blood is thicker than water. I mean, we teach our kids these things, and to some point there may be some validity to it, but at the same time, what message are we sending the kid? You know, it kind of tells them that what happens to you doesn't matter, because ultimately the family has to win. And, you know, your personal space and survivability and importance is only a small part of the overall dynamic of the family.
Yeah. But I think we also have to keep in mind that while we do see a lot of this happening in the African American community or the Black community for those stated reasons, it still isn't, you know, a Black issue, a white issue, you know, an Asian issue. This is a global issue because it even extends beyond the borders of the United States.
Yeah, they have child sex rings.
Right. Exactly. Even speaking from like my great great grandmother was 14 and her husband was like 29.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So like it goes back way back when. So it's like something like a cycle where a child is, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to word it, but like it was okay.
Right. I mean,
there are societal norm.
Yeah.
Correct.
I was going to say, as generations have progressed, then, you know, mindsets and beliefs have changed. But in essence, we want to make sure that today in, you know, modern society, that our children are being fully protected and that we're not using some of those old traditions and old beliefs to continue to rear our children. And also to make sure that we take the stigma and the shame out of it, and making sure that we're addressing it head on and not making it something that has to be swept under the rug, because truly the blame and the shame belongs squarely on the abuser and not the victim and not their family. And if we can get everyone to understand that, then more people probably would feel comfortable coming forward and speaking up, so that we as a community, and again, not just a Black community, but as a community as a whole, we can start addressing this and making sure that we're teaching all of the skills necessary to help prevent it in our individual homes and then in the community at large.
Okay, hey guys, click recessbreaks.com so the Cognac and on our Facebook page. Come next is the letter L.
With customizable streaming TV from Xfinity, watch the most free TV shows, hit movies, and live sports on the go. At home, access Netflix, YouTube, and Pandora right from your TV. And with the X1 voice remote, just say it and see it.
Show me HBCU.
With Black Film and TV, watch your favorite college entertainment, HBCU football games, and much more. Xfinity. Simple, easy, awesome.
Hey, it's your girl, Lipstick.
And it's your boy, Cognac.
And we are Lipstick and Cognac, your dynamic relationship duo, where we talk all things relationship every Tuesday
from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time
on rollingout.com and Rolling Out Live via Facebook. Y'all, what we talking about, Cognac?
We talk about it all. We talk about the cheating, the people that do right, don't do right, the people that might want to slap your head on your mama, your daddy, your sister, your uncle.
I don't know about slapping my mama, but we going to talk about it all, y'all. Make sure you check us out every Tuesday. It's going to be lit.
It's going to be a fun time. Ow.
With customizable streaming TV from Xfinity, watch the most free TV shows, hit movies, and live sports on the go. At home, access Netflix, YouTube, and Pandora right from your TV. And with the X1 voice remote, just say it and see it.
Show me HBCU.
With Black Film and TV, watch your favorite college entertainment, HBCU football games, and much more. Xfinity. Simple, easy, awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to Lipstick and Cognac, your host of adult conversation with an alternative twist. A no judgment zone where we discuss all things relationship, no matter if you are a ruler,
a rainbow, or a unicorn.
Make sure you guys check us out on all of our social media. On YouTube, Lipstick and Cognac page, Instagram and Facebook, Lipstick and Cognac, and Twitter is lipstick_cognac. Today, we are here with the founders of Comfort in the Storm, and we are talking about child molestation, child sex abuse, the signs, what to do about it, the counseling, everything you could think about is on the table. If you have any questions, just make sure that you try to put them into the Facebook Live box. Right now, we're going to go into our letter.
Before you do that, I want to ask about this too, because as you all know, and I'm not R. Kelly, but he was touched as a child. So, do you feel like the person who is the abuser feel like they need counseling as well?
I'm probably not the person to answer that question, because as the parent of a survivor, my first inclination is to protect my child and be concerned about my child. So I typically don't talk about what the abuser needs, because in a sense, they're almost a non-factor for me at that point, because they're completely in the wrong, and all I want to see them do is be accountable and be held accountable for their actions. But I don't know, my husband may have a different opinion.
For me, it goes back to the question you asked about 5-year-old, 10-year-old. It depends on the age of the abuser, the how often they've abused, if there's a pattern of it. Some abusers, I believe, they have no desire to change, no matter how much counseling they get. And there will be others. They may be first-time abusers. They may, may even be more than one. But they may want help and how to deal with what's happening with them and their, their aggression and their issues. So I think it's really a case-by-case call. But, yeah, definitely counseling is never something you should just rule out.
Yeah, because, like, to play devil advocate, when you're a drug addict, you go to counseling. And you're doing bad things and hurting your family and might be misusing kids. So it's like we kind of pick and choose who needs help.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? When everybody needs help. Not saying what happened was right to what happened to your child, but everyone needs help.
I agree.
And if you don't get help,
it.
it's going to keep going because you don't have anybody telling you it's wrong. You get what I'm saying? So that's why I just want to bring it up real quick. So, okay.
Okay, so back to our letter. To Lipstick and Cognac. I was enamored by the topic regarding the type of action one would take if they found out that a family member was touching their child. The options were to handle it within a family or to notify the authorities. This was in response to a post that we posted on our page just for you guys, for clarity. I think that the obvious answer for many is to notify the authorities, and many choose that option. But I wanted to write into the show to offer one more spin on this question. As a child, I was sexually abused by a family member that was still a child as well, an older female cousin who was about 13 years old. I never said anything about what went on, but often wondered what would be the consequence if I did say something at the age of 7 or 8. Once I came out as gay to my very religious family as an adult, everyone pretty much assumed something happened to him. And I asked my mother, grandmother, and aunts if they wanted to know my entire story. They all said no, except for one aunt. When I told her, she said that kids go through a lot of curiosity and sexual frustration when approaching puberty, and she was sorry that this occurred to me. I wasn't comforted by any of this information. What comforted me was actually seeing my older cousin get beyond the point of negative projection and understand what was going on with her. Okay. All that was being done to me had been done to her, and it was at that point that I resolved to make sure I do not project those behaviors on anyone else at any point in my life in time. As adults, my cousin and I are the closest of all the grandchildren, and while we don't focus on the past, I often wonder what the protocol would have been for handling this situation with a child, because I know it cannot be as harsh as an adult, but the same outcomes can arise internally from the abused party.
Exactly.
I can only think that since much of my family was not interested in how I became who I am today, that little would have been done back then. Thanks for sharing, Cameron.
Yeah. See, So that's why I asked. I didn't even read this letter yet, like, because you don't know if they got abused, and so they pass on. That's why, like, sometimes we be in our feelings with answers. And I understand that because I don't know how I feel, so I'm not going to act like I do. But when you back up to the situation, like, dang, well, did they get attacked, or they just passing on down what happened?
Well,
you
see,
get what I'm saying?
well,
it's
this
so
instance,
deep.
you don't know. Like, I know he said it started at 7 or 8, but I'm assuming that he was 7 or 8 and she was 13.
Yes,
that's a different dynamic than a 10 and a 15-year-old.
And I also think that we have to kind of look at the stigma of abusers were abused, because
Correct.
statistically speaking, the majority of people who abuse children were not abused.
Yes.
So
some of them just like children.
Right. And so I think that we tend to somewhat want to give them a pass, or, you know, we want to create some level of understanding by assuming that, oh, well, they must have been abused. Well, we can't assume that.
Correct.
Now, it's a case-by-case basis.
Right. I was going to say, now, if they were, then that's something that has to be addressed on a case-by-case basis. But we don't, I personally don't want to always give that out as to say, oh, well, they probably did it because it happened to them.
Yeah, because
even if it did, it still doesn't make it right.
Nope.
And I think when you're talking about juveniles, you have to look at, you know, what is healthy sexual development first and foremost. So when you're talking about the age differences between, you know, the child that was abused versus the one that did the abuse, well, what was the age difference? Was this an issue of them not really understanding healthy sexual boundaries?
Exactly.
You know, were they exploring in a way that might be sexually appropriate but maybe inappropriate?
Correct.
All at the same time. You have to take all of that into consideration.
And that's what we were talking about before you guys came on. Like some stuff, like say if it was an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, that may have, it's inappropriate, but they just may have been exploring, so it's not necessarily abuse.
You need to have a conversation.
Yeah, but you still need to have, like, and that's what we were talking about.
How
Like,
you
the conversation needs to be had, and it needs to be some type of discipline, so they know, like, boundaries, what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, and then you go from there.
Right. So I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, you go.
You start with the boundaries, obviously. But to address the letter and legally speaking, for child on-child sex abuse, traditionally it's 3 years of age or greater in difference.
Okay.
Another option is if one child is much larger than the other one, so in stature, if there's a big difference in stature. And thirdly, it's mental development. If the offender is mentally developed far beyond the age of the other, they take that all into consideration when they determine if it's child sex abuse or not. So, you know, you're talking 13 and 7, as the person in the letter stated.
That's
the parents or the family didn't seem all that supportive, but from a legal perspective, they probably would have went after it as child abuse because of the age gap.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, what? Because I can only imagine being him when he went out, and then it happened from an opposite sex, so he turned to be gay. You know, like not even straight. So that's why when you made that comment, like, it's all about, it's more than homosexual. It's like come from both ends.
Right.
So you get what I'm saying? I don't think, because like people like to say, oh, gay people. No, every gay person that's gay has not been touched by a man or a female or whatever. It's been
and
same sex.
That's the part of the conversation
sex,
before you guys got on. We were saying that it's not like somebody can turn you out. But it's basically how you internalize stuff, and you can happen. It can be same sex, different sex, or whatever. You're going to be who you're going to be, but how you internalize abuse, period, affects how you portray yourself in the world. Especially if you're not getting the help, the therapy, and all of that, the counseling that you need.
Right.
That's a large part of the dilemma for the survivor as well. Because it doesn't matter if the abuser was male, female, same sex, or opposite sex. For the most part, they're struggling with their body betraying them, you know, because oftentimes it feels good. The stimulation that you've never had before, or, you know, it's a natural stimulation that feels good, and you're wondering, if I was betrayed in such a way, why did my body respond favorably to it? You know, so that exactly.
And that's why the counseling is so important.
Yeah, because we mentioned rape. Like if it was adults, we wouldn't care about the age or whatever. Rape is rape, and child molestation in some cases, well, most cases is rape. And when you're like, you hear a lot of rape victims that say they have problems because it felt good. Like they may have orgasm, they had a sexual response that you would normally have if you are physically attracted to someone and aroused. And that plays with your mind, especially as a child when you've never even been in these situations. You're like,
You don't even know what it is.
Correct.
You're just experiencing the
sensation,
the body response.
Correct.
Exactly.
And whether it's, male on male, male on female, if your body is responding, that can be very, very confusing. And so that's why we're always proponents of counseling, because you need to be able to talk through the experience with someone so that they can help you understand that, number one, it wasn't your fault, and number two, that your body may have responded naturally, but it was still wrong.
Exactly.
And then help you kind of work through the process and the experience.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. What do you guys have going on that you want the people to know about?
Well, this Saturday, we are having a child abuse prevention symposium at Welcome All Park. It is co-sponsored by Councilman Helen Willis. She is the 3rd District Councilwoman for the City of South Fulton, and our organization, Comfort in the Storm. And we will be talking about all things child abuse related. If you want to learn about, what physical abuse and neglect is, we've got a section on that. If you want to learn about bullying and the effects of bullying on your child, we're going to talk about that. If you want to hear about mental health and some of the things that children are dealing with mental health, you want to come out and hear about that. We'll have someone who is a specialist in terms of truancy and what happens to kids who don't go to school, what are parents' responsibilities for making sure their children do go to school. And then we're also going to round it out with an entire segment on child sex abuse awareness and prevention, signs to look for, grooming patterns, everything you really want to know about child sex abuse and how to prevent it in your family.
That begins at 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock Saturday morning, Welcome All Park.
Got it. So if one from each, if each of you guys could give a bit of advice for people that may suspect it, what would that be?
My advice would be to first talk to the child. Find out what's really happening. Let them know that you're not there to judge them. It is judgment free. You are there to support them regardless of what the outcome is, and that you trust them.
Okay.
First and foremost, believe them. So, if you see the signs, you want to have the conversation, and if they disclose to you, believe them. You don't want to ask a lot of questions. You want to allow them to disclose in their own way. But then, again, I'm a huge proponent of reporting. So, I always say that it's up to every family, but believe them and report it.
Exactly.
Did you want to say anything?
I guess I want to. That's a letter like it is spirit of blows about it. Did nobody believe him? Like that's sad. And like they just brush it off. Like,
well, it wasn't they didn't believe about the sex abuse. They didn't want to know his story.
Yeah, exactly, about sex abuse.
No, they didn't even know about the sex abuse. They
assumed.
I
think he was alluding to why or what had happened to him as a child.
And that's common. There are so many people out there. If you hear their story, their family didn't believe them. They didn't want to believe it, or they just didn't believe it.
Yes. Well, I hate that we are in this segment. I think it's very important in the black community, because I'm black, so I'm going to speak for my community, that we have these type of conversations because it's really prevalent in our community. So I really enjoyed you guys. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And I want to say, I want to leave it with, this is not just a black issue, like you said, a brown issue. This is a child issue, and we need to make sure that no child is abused. So make sure you guys check them out this Saturday at 11 at Welcome All Park. And is that the City of South Fulton?
City of South Fulton.
Okay, yes. They changed it. The City of South Fulton. This has been Lipstick and Cognac, you guys. See y'all next week.
All right.
Bye.
No pollen. Woo.